year of 1988?
1988 Man of the Year. It feels pretty good. It's definitely been a long time coming.
Okay, I just need to catch my breath.
Okay, sorry about that. Catch your breath.
Okay, do you mind if I ask you a few questions for the interview for Time Magazine?
What the heck? I'm Gorbachev, and this is my cat, Gorbachev.
From you live from Time Magazine, I'm with Gorbachev on being selected Man of the Year 1988 on his work on ending the Cold War. I'll ask you a few questions. First one is whether or not you have any regrets on the triple reform. Why did you write your book on perestroika? And there were 3 or 4 reasons were cited as to why your perestroika, the renewal of the Soviet Union, was failed.
I do have to say that all these questions will be answered in my press interview, which will start in about 2 minutes. So just hang tight, and I'm definitely going to get all those points. Keep going.
Gorbachev, we're ready for your press conference.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming out tonight to my press conference. Earlier, the news reporter from Time Magazine asked me a few questions, and I thought it'd be my right to answer them in this interview. First, the Soviet Union ruled by a single-party communist party. And in this press interview, I just wanted to talk about my 2 policies of reform. The first one being Glasnost. Glasnost is going to set policies to help us, the USSR, become prosperous and a productive nation. Glasnost is also known as a political openness, which is eliminating any traces of Stalinistic repression. After Stalin died, I decided I would take over, and I am unbanning books. I am also giving new freedoms to the Soviet citizens. Political prisoners are being released from jail, and parties other than the communist can now participate in elections. My second policy is known as perestroika. It is also known as economic restructuring. It is going to revive us, the USSR economy, and loosen the government grip. Private initiative would lead to innovation. Also, something I want to add about Glasnost was it added some freedom of speech. Now we can say whatever we want about the government. The reforms were slow to take off. Lastly, for this interview, I just want to say something that's going to be a surprise to all of you. We are withdrawing Soviet troops from Afghanistan.
Woo! Gorbachev, I have one last question. What is the biggest goal you want to accomplish during your lifetime?
I would have to say the biggest goal I want to accomplish before my lifetime ends would be ending the Cold War.
Now I'm going to recite a quote by Mikhail Gorbachev. What we need is star peace, not
Recite
star war.
something that I once said. If what you did yesterday still looks big to you, you haven't done enough.
early December?
Today, the Republic of Belarus, the Russian Federation, and the Ukraine all broke away from the USSR this morning and created the Commonwealth of Independent States.
At last, the mighty Soviet Union has fallen.
We three kings of Orient are bearing gifts, we traverse afar, field and fountain, more a mountain, following yonder star.
This is the story of the fall of the Soviet Union. The Soviet Union, the largest communist land, had 15 republics that were centrally planned. In the Soviet structure, Moscow organized all the big republic of Russia, plus the ones that were small. This communist form of public big industries had central planning providing all the necessities, but up-to-date little goods come faster if there's competitors. They could not stay modern with just big central leaders. And since World War II, East Europe had been divided in ways that were not what each place would have decided. There was not enough freedom, just one old gang in the middle. The war budget too large and people's voices too little. Then 1985 brought a younger guy to the top. And this guy, Gorbachev, wanted these problems to stop. Gorbachev started Glasnost, more free speech and free news. It was fine for the first time to express many views. Gorbachev's perestroika brought democratizations. For the first time, elections let people steer their own nations. When the Berlin Wall fell, Gorbachev was surprised, but he slowed the arms race and won a Nobel Peace Prize. But then through East Europe, former Soviet states chose to break from the Union and control their own fates. So Gorbachev sighed, but chose democracy's course. He said he'd keep things together just with discussions, not force. Old communist leaders feared big changes too fast. The whole strength of the Union might be lost to the past. But new leaders and voters wanted change to come faster. Gorby's middle reform plans now were facing disaster. See, as Soviet president, Gorby wasn't defeated, but each republic's president now had strength just like he did. And Russia's President Yeltsin wanted more strength by far. So they drafted new plans for a looser USSR. But before this new compromise could be implemented, 8 conservative communists launched a coup to prevent it. They kept Gorbachev trapped, but people rushed out to help defend the Soviet Congress that they had elected themselves. And Yeltsin joined the people and the coup met defeat, but the old Communist Party now just looked obsolete. So when Gorbachev returned, he was the leader of zero. The Union structure was dead, each nation had its own hero. The Soviet Union is now no more, he announced, and Gorbachev sadly left, and Russia's president pounced. Yeltsin said it was time for the big free market test. Public resources should open for anyone to invest. But when the parliament leaders and the public protested, Yeltsin ordered the army to have them killed or arrested. So all profits went private or were bought up offshore. Millions and millions of normal people turned poor, and the Soviet Union died before it enjoyed the system Gorbachev wanted fixed instead of destroyed.